At Capella University, you're in control of your education. With the game-changing FlexPath format, you can set your own deadlines and move at your own pace. The faster you move, the more you save. Visit capella.edu to learn more.
Right Night is a talk show with published authors, writers, and content creators discussing both the creative and technical sides of writing, as well as the industry surrounding it, from novels to screenplays to comics and more. And now, here's your host, author Travis I. Sivart.
Welcome to Right Night. We'll get to the topic and discussion in just a moment. For those listening to the podcast, we record the podcast on our live stream at twitch.tv/Travis Tavern Talk, and we have a live interactive chat audience. You might hear the sound of the bell ding, and that means I want to interrupt somebody to read a comment or question. For those on the live stream, we won't read off everything you put in chat, but we'll try to get to the most relevant, the most amusing, or some combination of the both. Now, while we introduce ourselves, go and let us know what you're reading, writing, or creating tonight. Okay, while Chad is putting that in the chat, I'll let everybody know I am Travis Sivart, and on this topic, which is going to be writing streamers or writing streams, the books that I have written is the second half of the Journal of a Stranger series, all of Silver and Smith, all of the Portal series, and a few other odds and ends in the 27 Thoughts series. Hey, Trin, thank you for that, host. Good to see you here. Now, let's see. It's such a hard choice. We have two awesome co-hosts tonight. Scott, let's start with you. Give them an intro and pass it to Garrett when you're done.
Sure. Hey there, everyone. I'm Scott Wilson, and I'm a writing streamer at Scott Writes Stuff, so you can find me there. I also run the blog, scottwritesstuff.com, where we put up all of the archives of all the workshops and exercises and prompts that we do there. For my day job, I work as an editor, writer, and translator for the website Sora News 24. I've worked there for, about 7 years now, bringing Japanese news about anything you can imagine, from weird cats to politics to people all over the world. And I've also had 2 books published. Metal, the Angel Weapon, right here. It's a sci-fi, fantasy-ish middle grade series. You can check it out for free on my website now, scottwritesstuff.com. So if you're interested, feel free to give a look. And I'll pass it over to Garrett.
Hi everyone, I am Garrett Robinson. I am a writing streamer at Vlog a Novel, so that's vlog as in video log, a novel, and I stream everything about my writing process, everything from outlining, cover design, writing the first draft, editing, formatting, publishing, literally all of it goes up live on my stream, which is recently a little bit more sporadic as I have returned to the workaday world, and
I'm so sorry.
I know I would also be sorry, except it was a golden goose / golden opportunity that fell into my lap without me looking for it at all. It is a wonderful job. Frankly, it pays really, really well. Okay. And I love every single person that I work with. I was super nervous to take it because I'd just been a full-time writer. I was doing fine, and then somebody showed up and was like, "Hey, I want you to do this thing, and here's your salary." And I was like,
we have a bag of money and no questions. You want it?
a little bit, just like that. But I have what's amazing is since I took the job, I have kept up with writing and editing at least 5,000 words every single week.
Wow.
So I'm pretty happy about maintaining that. I have published, I formed a small publishing company of my own a couple of years ago, which mostly publishes my own stuff, but we have branched out and started publishing a couple of other people. I've published one short story anthology with a bunch of different authors, and then one new novel series with the author Brenna Gawain, and we are looking to expand on that, and they are the books of Underrealm. You can see all of them on that top shelf right there. Everything on that shelf is all me.
That is awesome. And I am staring at the dark doorway into the depths right next to it.
That's my sound booth. I record my own audiobooks. So that's what that is.
Fun fact, we'll have to get you back on, Scott, and I don't know if you do any kind of recording, but there is a closet where it's kind of hard to see unless if I flip a light back there that I am about to turn into a sound booth. Let's see, can you... Oh, I don't know. You can kind of see it. Hold on, I'm going to pivot. This is great for the podcast
so
recording,
much,
right? Okay, you can kind of see
totally.
something in the corner. Never mind. We're moving on.
Wow, you guys are so fancy. I have my like $10 Amazon microphone, and I just pray to the sound gods that it all kind of works.
But that's something we're going to talk about very shortly because it does work. And Scott, I wanted to ask you a couple questions since you're in Japan, correct?
Yeah, I live in Japan. I've lived here for the past 5 years and many other years before that.
How many languages do you speak fluently?
Well, what does fluently mean?
Can you have a conversation on the street?
Have a conversation on the street? I mean, obviously English and Japanese. My main job, like I said, what pays the bills is I'm an editor and translator and writer for Sora News 24. So yeah, I've worked as an interpreter and translator in Japan at a city hall in Okinawa for many years. Had to translate for couples in American couples and Japanese couples when they came to get divorced at city hall and they didn't speak each other's languages. So that was always a fun experience. Yeah.
Wait.
You wonder how that works.
I have so many questions.
So did I.
That's going to be a talk of the tavern. We'll set that aside for right now. But yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm totally thrown off track. Anyhow, fascinated by that. I love when people actually do something with more than one language, and I'm kind of embarrassed for Americans in general. So, not that I speak any more languages, even English apparently, fluently.
Normal languages, fantasy languages, it's all good.
There we go. Actually, my girlfriend is learning in Klingon, so true story. On Duolingo, the app, they have it.
They have that on WoW.
Yeah, I know. And Garrett's off getting something there. I wasn't... Did he just lock the door?
I didn't make sure my office door was locked before I started, so just taking care of business real quick.
There's a dark room, and we're locked in with him. This is incredible. Okay, so writing streams. Why don't we just go around the table here and give a little brief breakdown about what one of our daily writing streams looks like. And we'll just go around, and then we'll start comparing and contrasting, talking about equipment, or wherever it goes. Garrett, you want to start with yours, since you introed second?
Yeah, boy. I mean, so I started way back in the day of Google Hangouts that were just streaming straight to YouTube. My first writing stream was in 2014, and I thought, so in 2013, in 2013, I thought that I invented YouTubing. I was like, wait, what if I just made a short little YouTube video every day talking about my life and what I was working on? And swiftly found out that people had been doing that since YouTube existed in 2007 or whatever. Then in 2014, I was like, wait, what if I stream my writing? So I jumped into Google Hangouts because I knew that streamed live to YouTube. And I can't remember exactly, but I think that I did that for maybe 2 years before somebody was like, I've been watching you for a while, and I've always wondered, why don't you stream on Twitch? And my response was, what is Twitch? I had never heard of it. I didn't know it was a thing. And when I went into it, I did not go straight for the writing streams. I went for video game streams, which is of course what most people on Twitch do. And then I saw the value of it, because there were certain Twitch streamers who I just loved watching. And I was like, if people are entertained watching other people play video games, maybe they would be entertained watching me write a book. And so for the duration of the time that I've been streaming on Twitch, it's been a little sporadic, because I'm just a little sporadic, and I try new schedules and I try new things, and I'm sure that I would do much better if I stuck to a single consistent schedule that I kept all the time, no matter what the schedule was.
Sure.
And I'm just not that person. So I'll have long periods where I'll stream every weekday for like 3 months, and then I might not stream at all for a month.
What's it look like when you do stream? Tell us how your stream unfolds. Like if you did one tomorrow or earlier today, what's that like?
It's It's literally a screen capture of my script. I write everything in Scrivener, and so Scrivener is just the majority of the screen, and then my face is little tiny up there. And I do display my chat box on the stream while I'm streaming. I know that some people don't like that, and I get why, but I feel like the dangers of displaying your chat on screen come when you have a very large audience, because then, one, it's moving too fast to really be useful. Like, what's the point of having it there if you can't read anything on it? And two, the more people you have, the more trolls you're likely to attract in chat.
True.
And I just have never had a big enough audience that I've had to worry about either one of those things, which actually I'm sort of fine with, because that's not really the purpose of streaming for me, is like to get the biggest audience. So it's very chill. Sometimes I will talk a lot. Like if I how do I put this? If I have something that I've kind of been wanting to talk about for a while,
right,
and haven't realized I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and somebody in chat sort of instigates it, then I might talk for 20, 25 minutes straight and no writing gets done. That's obviously not ideal, but I'm really just kind of, the way I see it is like hanging out in a room with a bunch of other writers. And yes, I should be writing most of the time, but I think that it's okay in that situation to just sort of like talk about something that's important. And that something might be writing, it might be completely unrelated, it might be real life, it might be politics. I don't mind talking about politics on my channel. All sorts of different stuff. But most of the time, I get a lot of comments that are just like, I really literally just tune in for the keyboard ASMR. They just want to hear that tippy tappy of the keys, which is one reason that I don't actually play music on my streams. A lot of people do, and I get that. I actually prefer, when I watch streams, I prefer music with streams, but my most dedicated have been with me the longest, most loyal viewers, when I tried music on stream, they were like, oh, can you turn that off? I really like just listening to the keyboard. So that's kind of what it is. It's mostly just like a long keyboard ASMR stream, where they get to see all the words as they happen on the page. Okay.
Now, you, Scott, you have something so very different from that, like just the opposite end. And by the way, I want to say hello to a few people who popped in chats. Commander Bubbles, Danny Zagora. Apparently somebody perhaps Garrett knows. There we go. Say hello to your folks there. And now back to Scott. Scott, why don't you go through a little bit about what your stream looks like, not compared to his, just in general.
Yeah, sure. So my stream is mostly based on writing workshops, group-based writing workshops. And that's kind of due to the fact that when I lived in the U.S. And I was, just starting to get into writing, I went to a lot of workshops, and I even started running a workshop called the Brighton Writers in Boston for several years, and that was great. We had like anywhere from 10 to 20 to sometimes 30 people just gathered together, and we do exercises and prompts, and we'd share work and give feedback. But then I moved to Japan in 2016, and there's not a lot of English writing groups in Japan.
Right.
So but at the time, like Garrett said, I was also watching Twitch for video game stuff, and I was like, kind of had the galaxy brain.
This holiday season, we all wish for hope and healing. Children and families who spend their holidays at the hospital deserve a reason to believe in first steps, in giggles, high fives, and hugs. For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided world-class care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to help patients and healthcare heroes this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday. That's childrensnational.org/holiday.
Moment of like, oh my god, I can just stream these writing workshops on Twitch and get people to come in, and we can do the same kind of writing stuff together. And that's basically what we do on stream. Is we start off by doing some sort of warm-up, just a quick little thing to just get stuff on the page, and then we go into either an exercise or a prompt for the workshop of the stream. And just I have like some examples of some of the prompts that we've done recently. Is like,
sure,
I think last week we did, we practiced writing story beginnings by using Cards Against Humanity. So we got like some Cards Against Humanity matches, we mixed them together, and we used those as like the beginnings of stories to just write. Like one of them was, I drink to forget the milkman, and we all wrote stories on that, and we compiled them together, or like the next Happy Meal toy is a windmill full of corpses, you know. Or sometimes we get like random images from DeviantArt and we use those as prompts, you know, just things to get the juices flowing and to just get something written on the page. But other times we do exercises, like recently we did how to write introspection. We talked about introspection, looked at some examples, practiced writing our own. How to write a character who's smarter than you was another topic that we did. Since, you know, I will profess to, you know, not be the smartest person in the world, but sometimes you have to write a smart character. And how do you do that? And so then we looked at some examples in books, and then we practiced writing our own. And that's basically what we do. And then at the end, of course, we have free share, where anybody can share anything that they're working on and get some live feedback on a page or two of that.
That's
so that's
awesome.
Basically, you know, on my free share. It's much more, you know, like I don't do any of my personal writing on stream. I save that for off stream, the novels and stories and whatever. The stuff that we do on stream is more just the exercises and the prompts, which is, I see it as kind of, you know, the weightlifting of writing.
The training.
That way when you go and yeah, exactly. So that way, you know, you write these things that you're not super emotionally invested in, but you're still practicing the same creativity, the same, you know, good writing habits and stuff that just make your writing that you are emotionally invested in even stronger.
Very good. Now, to compare and contrast, I'm going to throw mine up there right next to your guys. So when I stream, I like variety in everything, whether it's what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, what I'm doing, what I'm watching, and also what I'm streaming. So I have things like right now, we're recording a podcast. We're having a structured-ish conversation. Talk at the Tavern, same thing, but not writing, more things in life. And then I have my writing streams where I sit down and write a novel or edit a novel or create book covers or do the marketing and promoting side of things. And depending what I'm doing and what mood I'm in, there's different levels of chat. So I'm somewhere in between you guys with a little of the constructive workout type stuff and a little bit of the butt in the chair doing it. And I've watched each of your streams. And yeah, Garrett, yours is very relaxing. It's conducive to getting that work done. Scott, oh my God, you have so much energy in your streams. It is incredible. You are like a game show host that just crossbred with a Coke dealer or something. You've just got so much energy, and it's all positive.
You don't see the burn afterward.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Burn, straight to bed.
And I was curious about that because I know all of us. Garrett, when we last spoke, you mentioned this. You've got to kind of turn it on, and there's some days it's hard to ramp up, even when you've got a mellow, chill stream. Right. So, Scott, you've got this high energy level. Like, you ever have days where you just got to go in and work off the crowd till the crowd energizes you?
Oh, every time.
Every time.
I mean, I've been streaming for a little over 3 years now, and before every stream, it's like, why am I doing this? No one's gonna show up. Why bother? You know, and that kind of existential feeling happens every single time. You know, and it's only like usually around 10 to 15 minutes into the stream, once, you know, some people have shown up and we've started talking and the ball gets rolling about something, that eventually it goes away. You know, but it's weird. You know, you'd think after 3 years of nonstop, you know, good times with peoples, it would go away, but the monkey brain just doesn't let us have that kind of reprieve.
You'd think, unless you do it. Go ahead, Garrett.
I was going to say, Scott, would you consider yourself like an extrovert in the
that
typical
was my next
sense?
question.
Like in that you sort of like get more energy off of interacting with people?
Oh, absolutely not.
Introvert.
Really?
I'm an introvert also. What about you, Garrett?
100%.
Oh, I'm 100% an extrovert.
Really?
I am an extrovert that annoys the crap out of people because I'm just like, hey, listen, can we just keep hanging out? Because if the more we hang out, the better I feel. Like when chat really is bumping on my stream, I'm like, oh man, I want to keep talking to you, but I need to take this energy and I need to focus it on what I'm writing. And when chat is dead, I'm still productive, but it's less so and I'm less energized. And the same is true in real life. If I go to conventions, go to parties, people come over to my place or whatever, I'm just like, I'm just, there and just hanging out and talking to people, and they're like, "Hey, so
he's getting such a puppy look as he's talking."
yeah, and the other person is like, "Hey, so it's 3 a.m. and I was wondering if you would be offended if I went to bed." And I was like, "Oh, no, sure, that makes sense."
Then his next statement is, "And you want me to leave, right? I'm just checking."
And that means I need to go.
Yeah, right.
Right, not just sit here, keep hanging out.
That's right. Wait till you wake up, make coffee.
I was curious about that. Yeah,
real quick.
That's funny.
If I can interrupt, House of Dread, thank you for that follow. I assume you came over with one of these gentlemen. Here's to you.
What's up, Dread?
But yeah, that's something I was just about to ask that same thing, Garrett, of both of you, and I would have flipped it considering the energy levels of the streams. And I'm naturally an introvert, but I've learned to be extroverted when I need to be. But after a weekend at a convention or a couple shows in a row, I'm like, I just don't, My cats are the only one that can talk to me. And even my girlfriend could just wave and high five as we go past in the house. So let's talk gear. Oh, hold on. Bubbles says, I feel that I'm usually pretty introverted, but give me a topic I like to talk about. We could go on for hours. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense, because I've had friends and family who watch my stream and they say, "Oh my God, Scott, you're so much more talkative and energetic during the stream than I've ever seen you before." And I guess that's because, when I'm at a family gathering or something, I mean, there's no real topics that are interesting to talk about, if I'm being completely honest, But when I'm with other writers who are, working on their projects, and I don't know, we're talking about the things that we're reading or writing or whatever, it just kind of flows and goes. So I think that comment really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I've said that about my brother. It's we get along great. We love to talk to each other, but we ain't got anything in common at all. Nothing in common. But yeah. Okay, so let's talk gear, because a lot of people, and we'll make this brief because if anybody is looking to get on Twitch, there's all kinds of info about this out there. But as a writer, there's different ways to write on stream. And by that, I'm kind of referring to, do you put your face up there? Do you put your work up there? Do you put your work but blur it? And all this sort of stuff. But to get started, and I think I'll go ahead and, whoever wants to go first, just jump in. Let me know how you started, and then a quick progression, and tell me where you're at now in gear.
I'll jump in.
Please. Yeah.
I am streaming on the exact same equipment that I started with.
Really? Started out with a decent mic.
Yeah. Well, see, okay, so I have lived many lives. And in one of them, I was a sound engineer at a sound studio, and I recorded hundreds of audiobooks and commercials, public service announcements, all sorts of stuff. We were a full multimedia sound studio. And so sound quality has always been really, really important to me. And so when I wanted to start streaming, I went looking for a decent quality camera. Okay. And so the other thing is, I was an independent filmmaker for 4 years, and still dabbled, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway, so I went and I looked for just what was the standard streaming camera when I was starting out. What's a good streaming camera? And I got a Logitech C920. Now you can stream using a really good DSLR camera. So I'm really saving up for a really nice, the new Sony A7S III, which by the time I have enough money for that, they might have come out with a better camera. But I'm saving for something really nice like that. But then microphone wise, I just hunted, and I looked for the best thing that I could find. And for a number of years, this was actually the microphone that I recorded my audiobooks on. And now I have a better audiobook recording microphone, which is in the booth, but this has been my workhorse streaming microphone just forever.
So when you say the best thing you could find, was there a budget included, or did you go out and spend $2,000 on a microphone? Okay.
No, this microphone at the time I bought it cost $250, and I think now you can get it for $100. It's a Samson G-Track, and it's just It's just a real good USB microphone. It really is like a workhorse. It's not the best quality you can possibly get, but it's real good. It's really reliable. I've just never had tech issues with it, and it's very forgiving, because when you're doing professional recording, you are working with a talent who is very aware of mic control, and they're very aware of like where they need to position themselves and all that sort of stuff. You generally, in my opinion, if you're streaming, you want to pick a microphone that is a lot more forgiving in terms of placement. And so like this is a good like cardioid mic, and it just has like a very wide field of pickup, and it just it sounds good enough for me, for sure. If I have like the mic that I would have, and like a whole analog compression and mixing set that I would get if I didn't have a budget. Right. But I do have
There's always a wish list. So, what about you, Scott?
Exactly.
What are you working with, and what did you start with?
Oh yeah, I'm real fancy. So I started off with a $5 microphone from Amazon, and I upgraded to a $10 microphone from Amazon. So yeah. As far as the camera goes, it's whatever camera is installed in my laptop. So I think I'm glad to hear all the great advice that Garrett has there. But I think kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum is just if streaming is something you want to do, just fire it up with whatever you got and just go for it.
Absolutely.
I think this is something that I talked about when we did the QuaranCon panel together, but like I used to work as a Japanese teacher, teaching Japanese to kids and pretty much anyone, and there was a lot of people who would before they even started learning Japanese, they would have to have the right brush pens, and they'd have to have the right lined paper, and they'd have to have all of these textbooks and everything. And I would say, great, you have all this stuff. Now when are you going to start learning Japanese? And they say, oh, I'll get to it. And then they never did, and I never saw them again, So I think, that would be my concern. Is just, I think there's a lot of great equipment for audio and video and whatever. But I think that, a lot of people might just be surrounded by a pile of microphones and cameras and then never start streaming,
It reminds me
that'd be my thing.
Of those kids that want to do something so bad, like if they're going to skateboard, they'll go find a wheel in a sand pile and screw it onto a board, and they've got this piece of junk, but they're doing it. And then you get these other kids that their parents just buy them this beautiful board, and they use it one weekend, and
This holiday season, we all wish for hope and healing. Children and families who spend their holidays at the hospital deserve a reason to believe in first steps, in giggles, high fives, and hugs. For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided world-class care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to help patients and healthcare heroes this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday. That's childrensnational.org/holiday.
At Capella University, you're in control of your education. With the game-changing FlexPath format, you can set your own deadlines and move at your own pace. The faster you move, the more you save. Visit capella.edu to learn more.
It goes in the closet. If you're passionate, you will find a way to make it work with what you have. And then you'll build from there. You'll find out what you need, which is more important than finding what's available. Finding...
And to lend credence to this whole thing, I find it worth pointing out that Scott has way more viewers than I will ever probably have. Ever. Like, he just has way more people watching, engagement, all of the important stuff because of Scott, right? Like, the microphone and the camera are not the most important thing by far. I am a gearhead. You know what I mean? And in my other life, I had a YouTube channel for a number of years that I will get back to one day. I just don't have the time for it right now. And that is such a common thing in YouTube. It's like, okay, like if you make a good, snappy, engaging video every week, it doesn't matter if you made it on an iPhone or a worse, like a bad phone.
Right.
It doesn't matter if the content is good, if your gear is bad. And a lot of people get into, they call it GAS, gear acquisition syndrome, where it's like, I got to get the best camera and the best lights and the best this. And that's me. That's me to a T. I'm always looking for like, oh, look at that new camera. And I will watch a 2.5 hour YouTube video about how cool this new Sony camera is, and then get it and get all this sort of stuff. But like, at the end of the day, that is not what's going to make or break, engagement, success, viewership. If that's what's important to anybody out there watching, don't worry about gear. Worry about being more like Scott.
Well, being more like yourself.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead,
I don't
Scott.
know about that. I mean, I appreciate the kind words, but I always say that for my streams, it's all about the quality of engagement rather than the quantity, because I've been to streams that have like almost 1,000 viewers, and it's just, you can hear the crickets chirping.
Right.
Nobody's talking at all. Whereas, in my stream, sometimes, we only have like 10 viewers or something, but everybody's talking and sharing their stuff, and it's awesome. It feels like we have hundreds, so I'll always take the, the excited people to be there over the hundreds of
quality over quantity. That's something I've thought about. If I ever hit a certain level of success, I would almost want to take a smaller group and put them somewhere else so I can actually interact. Because when you see that chat flying by on some of these larger streams, I'm just like, you can't even interact if you want to.
What do you do with that? Yeah. Exactly.
It's
I have to say it's so hilarious to me, Scott, that you're like, sometimes I stream and like we only have 10 viewers, but like chat's still moving really well. Dude, if I have 10 viewers, I'm like, what happened? What happened? Why do I have 10 viewers? That's a lot. Did somebody raid me and I didn't notice? Like anyway, that just goes to show you though, like streaming should be what you want it to be about. You know what I mean? And how do I put this? If you are achieving what you want to with streaming, don't worry about the numbers. Numbers are nice. I get such a high off of numbers, but like if you really isolate what you want from streaming or writing, YouTube, whatever, just make sure that you're measuring the right numbers, I guess.
the numbers that matter to you, the ones that make you feel good. And if I can read a comment real quick, Bubbles, in reference to what we were saying, says, kind of reminds me of how movies and shows with lower budgets tend to have more creative storylines and characterization, at least amongst the ones I've seen. The first Terminator was like that, and look how much of an impact on pop culture that had. It was mostly done with guerrilla filmmaking. And something we've all discussed before when we spoke previously is, and as we already reiterated here, it's about the person. You can have great gear, you can have gear that makes it happen, but it's nothing special, but it's you. And as you know, we've seen those streams, 1,000 people, no talking, but chat is just booming, and they're being ignored. On the other hand, we've seen somebody who has the most incredible setup and this great energy, and they've got 3 people, and you're like, why doesn't this person have 500 people watching them right now? So bottom line is,
streaming is it's a lot like publishing, you know?
Yeah.
There's so many great books out there that, you know, were sent out to, you know, somebody wrote this fantastic book and they sent it out to agents, and the agents were having a bad day, and, you know, and maybe they self-publish it, and, you know, maybe one person read the first page and it wasn't their cup of tea and it dies in obscurity. Whereas if just the right person saw it, then, you know, it could have exploded in popularity, you know? So it just, there's so much luck involved. I mean, in fact, in our stream the other day, we were just talking about how, you know, the Harry Potter series, because you always have to talk about that when it comes to popularity stuff. It was based on the head editor at Bloomsbury, his daughter. You know, she was the one who decided that they would publish the book, because the editor was on the fence and he was like, I don't know if this book is good or not. Gave it to his daughter and she was like, yes, chapter 2 please. And, you know, just imagine if he didn't have that daughter, or if she had slightly different taste in books, or if she was just doing something else at that specific time, it would have never happened. So there's just, whether you have 3 viewers or 300 or 3,000, there's so much luck involved that again, just to reiterate it, just, you know, do it for fun and do what matters to you. And the numbers are just rolling dice. That's what the only place the numbers come from. And doing it for fun is going to make the difference for anybody streaming. If you're enjoying what you're doing, it's going to make it a better quality stream overall.
This is why, yes, schedules are great, but if you're having a day where you just don't feel like you should be on, it's okay to take that day off too. Because it's, again, that quality over quantity, and trust me, your viewers would rather you skip a stream than have a stream that makes them go, well, this is awkward and I don't want to be here right now. And I don't know about you guys, but
maybe they like that. Maybe they like the cringe, you know? We're not going to kink shame them.
This is awkward.
Yeah, totally.
Thanks, Mom. Stop.
And it's, there's sort of a with like a lot of things in life, there's a line you have to walk, or a balance you have to strike, where if streaming is not if streaming is not making your life better, then why are you doing it? Period. You know what I mean? And I tell a lot of writers who are like, how do I stream? What do I stream? Why should I stream? And everything. And I talk to them about it for a while, and I evaluate certain things. And my honest answer is like, I don't think you should stream, because I don't know what it would give them. I don't know what it would contribute to them.
Right.
But they feel like, I've got to stream, or I've got to do this, or I've got a blog. A lot of writers are like, well, that ties in with writing, so like I've got a blog. And I'm like, but why? Know why you want to do that, and what positives it's going to give you before you commit to something like that. Now, then on the other hand, there is, once you have decided to do a thing, I do think that there can be value in pushing yourself to do it. Not, again, this is a balance you have to strike.
Right.
Pushing yourself to do it, even when you don't feel like it that day.
Yes.
Because I don't YouTube anymore, but I've never felt better than after oh God, my years are getting all mixed up, because what is time anyway in this crazy timeline that we're in, wild timeline that we're in. But 1 year, in like January or something, I was like, I'm going to make a YouTube video every Friday for a year. And I did it for a year and a half. And some of those Fridays, I did not want to make a YouTube video. I was just like, oh no, screw this. I'm giving up. Forget about this. And I did it anyway. And I did it for a year and a half. And I got to the end of that year and a half, and I was like, geez, that's awesome. And I actually went back and I watched the whole playlist of all those videos that I made consistently every single Friday. And I was like, that's awesome. Even the videos where I know in retrospect I didn't want to do it that day, like, I'm so proud that I did it anyway. But then I was also able to be like, you know what? YouTube in general is not adding as much to my life as it's taking away.
Right.
So I'm going to take a break. And I want to get back to it at one point, but I need to hit pause on that. So you have to jockey back and forth between like, do I really need to take a day off? Because if you need to take a day off, take a day off. It will make you and your life better. Or am I just, because for me, that's a constant thing where like, I just don't want to start the stream.
Right.
And once I start the stream, I'm fine and I can go for 4 hours. It's totally okay. But just hitting start stream,
and that is the difference.
So hard
to what I was saying before. There's been days where, and I have hit start the stream, and there's been the days where like 20 minutes in, I'm like, nope, I shouldn't. I'm done, and I am. So it's a matter of recognizing: are you hemming and hawing and dragging your feet for no real reason, or do you need that day to yourself, or that day to do nothing? And adding value, that really goes across the board to, and I think it's actually great writer advice in general. If you're writing and you're sitting here looking at your numbers, paralleling it to Twitch here, if you're looking at your book numbers, look at what value writing whatever you write adds to your life. And even without big money or any money coming in, are you getting something out of it? Are you enjoying the creative outlet and the technical side of creating that book and editing and formatting and putting it out there? And if you are, then it's worth doing. If it's adding more to your life than it's taking away, as Garrett said. That's a great way to measure balance. I've done that with relationships too, by the way. Yeah, true story. I've had like family who I'm like, they're dragging more out of me than I'm getting back, and just cut that. Or jobs. I've done it with jobs.
Yeah.
So that's a great life lesson.
Something that comes up quite often on the stream is, just talking about, knowing when to quit things is, it's with reading too. There's so many people who they start reading a book and they're like, oh, my friend recommended it to me, or oh, it's a classic, or oh, that means I have to finish it, and if I don't finish it, I'm a bad person, or whatever, and they force themselves to finish it, and just that's such a wrong decision for so many reasons, because not only are they enforcing yourself to finish a book, are you not going to get anything beneficial out of it because you're hating the whole experience, but it's going to put you off reading potentially forever. So for me, at the beginning of stream, we always talk about reading, and I'm perfectly happy to say, like, oh, I started reading this book, but chapter 2 sucks, so I put it down, because I only finish maybe like 1 out of every 5 books I start.
Really?
I talk about that. Oh yeah, if even that high, I don't know.
Interesting. See, when I was in my teens, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
No, that's pretty much it. That's my rant right there.
When I was in my teens, I had to read it, and heaven forbid it was a series, because I swear to you, I would read 9 books that I wasn't enjoying, because I just had that mindset. I had to. Now that I'm older, there's times I've hit page 5, and I'm like, this is complete garbage. And then there's other times with big name authors that other people love. I'm on like chapter 3 or chapter 6, and I'm like, I don't care about the characters. The story is vaguely interesting, but there's not enough other stuff. So I'm done. You guys love the hell out of that. Enjoy that book. I'm done. And there's Garrett.
My personal recommendation, if you do that with big name authors, oh God, don't talk about it.
Nope.
Please, just don't talk about it. I made a huge mistake. There is a very, very popular epic fantasy series that I did not like. I started off really liking it, and then some point in the middle, I really disliked it, and I stopped reading it. And years and years later, I wrote a blog post about it because it's very popular, so I get asked about it all the time, and I was really tired of explaining myself to people over and over and over again. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put all my problems with this series in one blog post, and then whenever anybody is like, what do you think about blah? I'll just be like, here, that's what I think. That's 3,000 words about what I think. Let's never talk about it again. The internet did not like that blog post, and I get a lot of haters off of that blog post. I get a lot of fans too, because they're like, yeah, you get it. You get why I also did not like that series, but I'm not sure that the headache is worth it. So just in general, if you don't like something, totally don't read it. Life is too short, and there are too many good books to waste your time on a bad book. But just, especially if you want to be an author yourself, just don't talk about it.
When it comes to criticizing another author's work, I will only say critical things if I can balance it with nice things. If I only have critical things, I don't even tell people. I'm like, I started a book that everybody likes. I didn't. I put it down. I leave it at that. But like George R.R. Martin, I can criticize, but I also really enjoy his books. Robert Jordan, right. and those might have been one of the ones you talked about. I don't know. But you could tell me later off air, and we'll go with that. But yeah, I get it. It's if I can't balance it with the pros and the cons, I don't touch it. If I use the thumper rule. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Yeah, I follow the same thing when I talk about it on stream. It's just, I never mention the titles. I just say, oh, there was a book I started, wasn't a fan. And the reason for that, not only for all the reasons that you all said, but one of the other reasons is because if I'm broadcasting to an audience and I say, oh, I don't like this book, I don't want people to be like, oh, Scott didn't like that book, I'm never going to try it.
Right.
So I don't want to turn somebody off from potentially finding a series or book that they would love too. Because every book, we all know, has had some amount, it's somebody's baby, some blood, sweat, and tears were put into it, and somebody out there has to like it, and I don't want to take that experience away from anyone.
Totally. And I'll also say I have another standard that I add to that, which is like I'm fine criticizing a book if I feel like I can't really do the author any harm. And here's a perfect example that also ties into what you were saying, Travis. So I love the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson.
Very much enjoy it, yeah.
So much. It's so good. The first book was great. I didn't actually enjoy the second book that much, but then the third book was so good that it retroactively made the whole trilogy like one of the best series ever, in my opinion. So I started reading, what's it called? The Stormlight Archive. The first book is called...
I'm with you.
It's on my shelf.
I know where you're going.
So I start reading the first book, and I'm like, I'm just not enjoying this. And the thing that I can say about that book is that, one, I can understand why people do like that book. I can totally read it and be like, no, of course other people are going to like this book. It's just not for me.
Right.
At the time, I actually have been talking with a friend recently, and he has convinced me that I need to reread that book, and I might actually enjoy it on a reread.
It's a different mindset.
The second thing is that it's Brandon Sanderson.
Right.
I am not capable of harming Brandon Sanderson.
Right.
Even if I was, which I'm not, even if I was saying Brandon Sanderson is a bad author, which I'm not, because again, Mistborn, one of the greatest series of all time. I am not powerful enough to harm Brandon Sanderson by saying I didn't like. Is it Words of Radiance? I feel like it's Words.
I believe that's correct. It's one of those in this series. But here's what I'll say about that. I love Brandon Sanderson. I've enjoyed almost everything of his I've read, except the one you're referring to. And I read like 3 books of it, and I'm finally like, I just don't care if I pick up another. I didn't hate it. It was just a bit of a slog to me. But by the way, if you guys don't know who Brandon Sanderson is, absolutely recommend you pick up one of his books and try him. Also, personality-wise, he does his own podcast. He goes, when he's doing tours, he stops by the local card and game shop and plays Magic with fans. And he stops in airports, picks up his own books, signs inside the cover, puts it back on the shelf. So you get a signed surprise copy. And
that's actually that's how I discovered him in the first place. Was not through, I had no idea who this guy was. And then I was watching one of the best Magic players stream, and Brandon Sanderson came into the chat.
Oh, nice!
And started talking to him because they're best friends apparently, and so
look at Garrett.
So that was pretty, just reverse engineering it.
I just love how he treats his audience. That's a delight and such respect. And even if I didn't like what he wrote at all, I'd have to just big thumbs up for that type of interaction. Let me read a comment or two.
Such a great guy. Yeah.
And we'll do a wrap up for this episode here. Bubbles, sorry to not get to it right away. Flipping back to the book blasting and liking, and I have a comment back to this too. Bubbles says, I always try to see merit even in bad works. No matter how poor the overall product is, I always try to see, hey, that's pretty cool. Overall book might suck, but at least I'll try and say these things are cool. I read Larry Niven's Ringworld fairly recently, and the overall story and characters weren't great in my opinion, but the world building was amazing. And I do that also. I've read some classics like Bram Stoker's Dracula. I'm not a big fan, but by the way, the audio book where it's read by different voice actors doing the characters for the different diaries, that's very good. But I've read a lot of the classics, and what I've learned in some cases is what not to do. I recently reread all the Narnia via audiobook. By the way, people like Patrick Stewart and Brian Jacoby and Kenneth Branagh and Lynn Redgrave doing the narration on the different books. So great narration. But the books themselves, I went, wow, these are not great books. Great for kids, and they hold a dear place in my heart, but writing-wise, his protagonists never actually solve any problem at all. It's always like Aslan comes in out of the blue, shoves him out of the way, and says, I'll do it. Dracula said...
Totally.
Yeah, okay. So let's get some closing thoughts here, and we'll wrap up this episode of Right Night here. Garrett, we introduced you second. We'll give you closing thoughts first.
honestly, when it comes to writing streaming in general, if I will offer general advice, which is the same advice that I offered to people talking about YouTube back in the day. If you think that you could possibly enjoy it, you should at least give it a try. Because if you try it, and if you enjoy it, and it goes well, you have a bit of a leg up in that you are one of less than 1% of authors who will ever do it. We're not a very extroverted bunch in general.
Except Garrett.
You know what I mean? I'm here, but 2 out of 3 people on this stream describe themselves as introverts. This is not our thing. So give it a shot. Give it a try. And you know what? If you need to, do it under a pen name, a different name or whatever. Same as when you're trying to write something new or experimental or whatever.
Yeah.
And if it fails, close the channel and never do it again. But if you actually enjoy it, the friends that I have made through streaming and the you know the people that I've connected with through streaming are far and away my favorite people.
He's talking about you, Scott.
I love. No, they are the people that I talk to on Discord
right
almost every day. They are the people that I just really, really enjoy, because the level of personal connection that you get with that is great. And if it's not for you, that's fine. And if you find that connection in other ways, that's totally fine. But I feel like you should give it a shot just to see if it's something that you think might work out for you, because the benefits can be pretty great.
Scott?
Yeah, I mean, got to agree with Garrett there. Just, I think that's one of the blessings of writing streaming, is that it's so, I mean, we talked before about microphones and whatever that you can do, but aside from that, it's so low tech. Like, Garrett said you stream Scrivener, and I stream from literal Google Docs, so you don't need a great computer, you don't need a capture card or a crazy, graphics driver or whatever. You just, put it up there and see what happens. And I think one other thing that can be really beneficial for people is, even if you're just writing your own stories and streaming that live, that can be a great kick in the pants for some people to just actually get some writing done. Just even if nobody shows up, or if only one person shows up or whatever, it's just kind of, you schedule that time and you do it and you get some writing done. And getting some writing done is going to be infinitely better than getting zero writing done. So if the idea of streaming your writing makes that more appealing than just kind of sitting down in the silent void and doing it yourself in isolation, then by all means, give it a shot.
Absolutely. And my closing thoughts on this subject is these guys kind of covered that. Let me talk about, check out other writers on Twitch or YouTube or wherever before you start to stream yours. See what's out there. Meet the community. Get to know what that room, not the literal room, the figurative room of the writing community on wherever you are, feels like. You may find out you don't actually want or need to stream. You just wanted that contact with the community, and watching people like Scott, or hanging out in silence with Garrett, or finding whatever mood I'm in today, and I can start naming off writing streamers, but I know I'd forget somebody I adore, so I'm not saying any names. But come in, meet people. See what's out there and immerse yourself in the community. And then, if you decide, yeah, I want to stream also, pick up the rest of that stuff these two gentlemen just said and go with it. Okay, gentlemen, tell everybody goodbye, and I'm going to wrap this show up.
Bye, everyone.
See you. Thanks for hanging out.
Before we go, I want to remind
This is
everyone
where
that
we
you can
dance,
email us at rightnightshow@gmail.com. That's right with a W, night with an N, show@gmail.com. To let us know your thoughts on the show's topic, suggest other topics you'd like to hear us discuss, or just have a message read out on air to someone in your life. Thanks to everyone for supporting the show by downloading the podcast, sharing it on social media, grabbing some shirt stickers and mugs from bit.ly/tavernmerch, or barware patches and hats from bit.ly/tavernmerch too. It's bit.ly/ twitch.tv/tavern merch or tavern merch followed by the number 2. Thanks to everyone who joined us live at twitch.tv/Travis Tavern Talk, and everyone who supports the tavern by subscribing, hosting, throwing bits, raids, and most of all, commenting.
Thank you for joining author Travis Sivart and the other writers, content creators, and all-around amazing people for our discussion here on Writing. Join us again soon, and until you do, make sure you create with passion, enjoy the journey, and remember, every night can be right.
'Tis the season for those irresistible ginger thins, cozy blankets for cuddling by the fire, and making home warm and welcoming. For one-stop holiday shopping, visit your local IKEA or ikea-usa.com/holiday.